Hi everyone, it's Matt, and today is a great day to be in the Cornerstone Connection daily devotional. If I haven't met you before, I'm the youth and family pastor at Cornerstone Church in Marshfield. We're going to go to the Old Testament today. We're going to go to the book of Zechariah, and I'm going to read chapter 7 to you, and then we will explore a little bit what I read and how it applies to our lives. So join me there if you like. It says, in the 4th year of King Darius, the word of the Lord came to Zechariah on the 4th day of the 9th month, which is Chislev. Now, the people of Bethel had sent Sherezer and Regemelech, forgive me for the pronunciations, and their men to entreat the favor of the Lord, to plead with him, to beg for the favor of the Lord, saying to the priests of the house of the Lord of hosts and the prophets, should I weep and abstain in the 5th month, as I have done for so many years? So the people are wondering, God, should we keep mourning and fasting at this certain time of the calendar year? Should we do this outward action that we've done over and over and over, year in and year out, in fasting and mourning to get your favor? Should we do that, God? Verse 4, then the word of the Lord of hosts came to me, that being Zechariah, say to all the people of the land and the priests, when you fasted and when you mourned in the 5th month and in the 7th, for these 70 years, was it for me that you fasted? And when you eat and when you drink, do you not eat for yourselves and drink for yourselves? Were not these the words that the Lord proclaimed by the former prophets when Jerusalem was inhabited and prosperous, where their cities around her in the south and the lowland were inhabited? So God's asking these questions of the people. He's saying, okay, you're wondering about doing outward actions at a certain time of the year. But he's saying, let me ask you about your hearts. As you do those actions, what does that tell me about your hearts? Is it for you or is it for me? Verse 8, and the word of the Lord came to Zechariah saying, thus says the Lord of hosts, render true judgments. Show kindness and mercy to one another. Do not oppress the widow, the fatherless, the sojourner, or the poor, and let none of you devise evil against another in your heart. Verse 11, but they refused to pay attention, and turned a stubborn shoulder, and stopped their ears that they may not hear. They made their hearts diamond hard, lest they should hear the law, and the words that the Lord of hosts had sent by his Spirit through the former prophets. Therefore great anger came from the Lord of hosts. As I called, and they would not hear, so they called, and I would not hear, says the Lord of hosts. And I scattered them with a whirlwind among all the nations that they had not known. Thus the land they left was desolate, so that no one went to and fro, and the pleasant land was made desolate. I don't know if you caught it, but what God is essentially telling these people, his people, is it's just not adding up. You know that phrase? It's just not adding up. You're wanting to do the right actions out here to please me so that good things happen to you. You're wanting to fast and mourn at a certain month. Should you keep doing that? That's a question you're asking so that favor comes to you. However, God says, what is clear is that your heart is not matching what your hands are doing. Okay? He's saying, what I really want you to do, he talks about in verse 9, is I want you to render true judgment. I want you to show kindness. I want you to show mercy to one another, forgiveness. I want you to not oppress people. I want you to not devise evil against another in your heart. He's saying, instead of you worried about your outward actions towards me, I want your hearts. You see, it's not adding up. What you say your hands want to do is not matching what your heart is truly showing me. And friends, these are pointed questions that God asked the people back then. And it's easy to look back at these words in Zechariah and think, man, those people were so far off back then. And yet, as we read these words today, we have to ask ourselves those same questions today. We need to allow God to ask us those questions today. Is our heart matching what we say our hands want to do? Is my heart matching what I say my hands want to do? Is it adding up? Friends, it is so important when it comes to our relationship with God That it doesn't become just outward doing to appease him, but instead that we come to God with our hearts first and allow what he does then in our hearts to then result in the work of our hands. And so, friends, may we do our best today to come with humble hearts before God and say, God, do a work in me, so that as you work in me, you may work out of me. And that what I do on the outside adds up to what you have done on the inside. Friends, have a great day. And don't forget, in the coming couple of weeks as we go into Christmas and we go into the new year, we're going to be taking a break from the Cornerstone Connection. But don't worry, we'll be back on January 6th. Have a great day, friends, and we'll see you next time on the Cornerstone Connection.